Megan's on holiday, so the top chef at the Crazy Bastard kitchen in Neukölln drops by with 2 cans of premium Polish lager. On this week's show, we reminisce about nearly being conscripted into the Bundeswehr, discuss racial profiling in the police, ask why men are sheep, and get rid of some old Nazi words. It's Basti's Beercan.
This is the news. Yeah. News.
Hello everyone, this is Megan's Megacan, except it's not Megan's Megacan this week. I have a couple of announcements to make. It's Conrad Werner here speaking. First of all, I want to say I'm very sorry to regular listeners, because you may have noticed that instead of the last week's show, there was an interview that I did for my film with a conservation biologist who thinks we're all going to be dead in 5 years' time. If that shocked anyone, I'm very sorry. I maybe should have included a little intro explaining what that was all about. It was basically just because I only have one podcast account stream, so I put it up on that anyway, and so it may have popped up in your feed. And but I hope you found some redemption and consolation in listening to it anyway. Secondly, Megan is on holiday, so we have a substitute teacher, as it were, here today in the shape of Sebastian Knight. Hello, Sebastian.
I don't want to die. Hello, everybody. I'll be your teacher today. Thank you so much. 5 years, really? Is he right? He's not right, is he?
He's probably not right, but
for you,
that's what he thinks.
Well, that's what he thinks. What's he doing about it then?
Well, that was what the interview is about. It was quite interesting.
Yeah, but I'll listen to it. I look forward to it.
Yeah, so this is actually an edition of Basti's Beercan instead of Megan's Megacan. And Basti, you are a chef, primarily.
I prefer to say cook. Chef is French for chief. I consider myself one of the team, one of the boys in the brigade.
Right.
But I am in charge of the kitchen, Crazy Bastard Sauce restaurant, in collaboration with the brilliant Jonathan O'Reilly, the creator of Crazy Bastard Sauce, the best hot sauce in the world.
Yeah. What's on the menu this week, if anyone's living?
Venezuelan arepas, pabellon criollo, which is the national dish of Venezuela. And one of my chefs is from Venezuela. So whenever I have someone working for me from a country, we just say, right, we're doing the food of your country.
Oh, good.
Milk the bastards.
So it's not a cultural appropriation.
It is. There's no shame in it. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with cultural appropriation?
Well,
what does appropriation even mean?
Stealing.
Does it? Oh, does it actually mean that? Yeah. You could tell me anything. I just have to believe you.
Anyway, so we're back to the German news this week. So,
yes.
I'm glad you're here to fill in, because we are both half German. And
Jawohl.
if we had been living in Germany in the 80s and 90s when we were growing up, we may have had to join the German army.
They would have made men of us.
Indeed, we would have had to join.
We wouldn't have been so soft like we are now.
Oh wait, we have to. I started and we haven't even started drinking. Damn.
Jeez.
What are we drinking?
Tyskie from Poland.
It is a Polish beer.
Yes, it's delicious, and it's one of the more upmarket canned beers available in Germany. We're talking €1.09 in a supermarket, €1.95 in a petrol station, and probably €3.95 in a major airport. Let's crack it.
Yeah, there you go. Good. So you went for the fancy Tyskie.
Oh, I got to treat you. Didn't you live in Poland? We don't have to talk about that.
Let's just leave that.
Let's leave that.
It's a long story.
Cheers.
So, The Bundeswehr. In fact, I do have a personal story about conscription into the German army, because when I was 18 and we were on holiday, you remember, we used to go on holiday to Munich.
Yes, we did.
Did I mention on the podcast so far that you're my brother?
No, I thought I'm supposed to pretend that your name's Conrad.
Anyway, right, let's go back a bit. We are brothers. We used to go on holiday together. We went to Munich, and one horrible afternoon, a letter arrived at our grandmother's house from the Bundeswehr saying that I was to turn up to a certain recruitment station wearing trainers and shorts.
I remember it well. He shit himself. He was reading The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien in his flip-flops, in his Birkenstocks, and he got this letter, and his face went white.
It took a lot of persuasion, because I wasn't actually living in Germany at the time, but I did have a German address. Our mother had put our grandmother's address down as a German address. The upshot of it all was that we had to get our German vicar in Manchester to write a letter to the German military saying
you don't want this guy. He's not. He won't be any help.
That was basically what happened. Anyway.
I also, when
Okay.
I moved to Berlin at the age of 23, I got a letter saying, "Come on, where have you been?" And I just ignored it.
And they never chased you in?
Nah.
Oh. Well, anyway, cut to 2020, and the new parliamentary military commissioner, she's called Eva Högl, has brought up the idea of bringing back mandatory military service, which was abolished in 2011. And she did it. She said she wanted to do it because it would help to kind of dilute the far-right subcultures that have developed in the professional military in the last few years. And this has created a bit of a political complication, because that is the kind of thing that normally the CDU would say, not the SPD. And the AFD is totally on her side. The AFD's, you know who the AFD are.
Yes, I'm not an idiot.
They said that it is the first meaningful proposal by the SPD for many years.
Hear, hear. I'm joking. Well, it was interesting, though, because, I don't really know. I used to teach German soldiers. After they had done their service, they were given free education, Weiterbildung, took some English courses, and they were. I would very much doubt that there was a single far-right person in my class. They were wonderful. But, of course, I don't know. I could have just got lucky. And also, they were all white, and I was white. So maybe if there had been, a Muslim in there, maybe it would have been. They maybe I would have seen something different in their behaviour. I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Are there loads of far right people in the military?
Well, there have been a few scandals in the last few years. Most recently, the minister, the defence minister, received an anonymous 12-page letter from an officer saying that there was a rampant far-right culture in the KSK. That is like the commandos. They're like special forces.
Yeah.
The elite group. It has become clear that these are not isolated cases, that they do have like a systemic far-right cultures, partly because of WhatsApp. Actually, they communicate on WhatsApp a lot.
Yeah.
So, and
end-to-end encryption.
Yeah.
You can send anything you like.
Yeah. So they communicate through that and other like messaging things. And I think that they've created more of a stronger network. The thing is, though, the whole idea of reintroducing conscription, it's really, no one could really tell how serious she was being, Eva Högl, because it would be extremely complicated to reintroduce conscription now 10 years later. You'd have to rebuild a whole network of recruitment centres, training centres. It would take several years.
Leave it. Just don't do it then. But you were also allowed to opt for, you could work in an old people's home, for example, couldn't you? But instead of joining the Bundeswehr, you didn't have to. When you were 18, you didn't have to go to the Bundeswehr.
No, you could do Zivildienst.
Yeah. So well, not
And
get some work experience. Help the aged. Do you have this cocker? Help the aged.
Good. Yeah, and there's also, it's not really clear like what military purpose it would have as well. Like the whole point of military service is it's just to get young people off the streets. Like there's not, because they don't really contribute much to Germany's military strength, because they cycle them out. It only takes about 6 months, and you can't really learn to be a soldier. I talked to a military expert. I was writing about this, and he said you can't really learn to be a proper soldier in 6 months, not with a modern army. It takes much more complicated. What they do is they just do like all the basics, all the physical basics, and they learn a bit of discipline, and then they go back out into the world. It's not really like a military thing. Anyway, any other comments?
I lived in Switzerland, and they had conscription there. I don't know if they still have it there.
I think, yeah, I heard in Switzerland it's quite a long military service you have to do there, and you have to go back as well after a few years.
And then you have to have a rifle in your home.
You don't have to.
In a safe.
Do you have to?
They technically have one of the largest armies in the world because of the number of men between the age of, I think, 18 to 40 who have to have a rifle in their home to be ready for action.
Oh.
They're mental, the Swiss. They've got bunkers everywhere. You don't even know how prepared they are.
Yeah, it's always the quiet ones, isn't it? It's always the quiet countries.
Yeah.
Anyway, next on the list of news stories this week, Interior Minister Horst Seehofer. Do you remember him?
Of course I do. Good old Horsty.
He came out and said that there was no reason, because there's been like a lot of talk about racism in the police as well. To do with racial profiling, and a lot of questions being asked about whether or not, how are you going to, systemic racism in the police, and the fact that when they do, stop and search people, it tends to be mainly people of colour who get stopped and searched, which is illegal in Germany. But everyone knows that it happens, and it happens all the time. And Horst Seehofer has blocked any plans for a study into how often it happens in the police, on the grounds that it is banned. So why do we need to have an extra study into it? And also, we're also doing other, the police forces are doing their own studies into different types of racism. So why do we need an extra one?
Yeah, I mean, have you ever been stopped and searched?
No.
No.
Not once. Have
you? No?
No.
We've got it. I mean, it's just we got it good, haven't we?
Yeah, we don't even know how good we've got it.
Yeah, it's just not right.
And so that that pissed off a lot of people, mainly because there is no data at all about whether or not, how often people get stopped, and whether the complaints, and also the complaint system is considered flawed by all the anti-racism campaigners. They say that because there's no independent body that you can complain to. You have to complain to the police itself. If you've got a problem with the police, you've got to go to the police, which is pointless. So a lot of people of colour and anti-racism campaigners think this is a very backward step by Horst Seehofer to block this potential study into what is going on. It happens all the time, and it's quite bad.
I'm sorry. Come on, let's pick it up round 2. Give me a good thing now. That last one wasn't so great because we've neither of us have experienced it. Right, smash it now, Ben. Conrad. This next one, hit me. Sport. Oliver Kahn has received a Lifetime Achievement Award for goalkeeping. He said at the ceremony, he said, "Was für eine Ehre." And then he walked off.
Actually, a German goalkeeper has been in the news today.
Oh, God. You see?
Yeah. Manuel Neuer.
Money!
He was caught on video in Croatia.
Shoplifting.
Singing a racist song.
Oh, God. Keep it light. Why is he doing that?
He sang a politically questionable song.
What were the lyrics?
I don't know.
I'll be the judge of this.
I don't have the lyrics. I have to look it up.
Well, I'll just do a bit of talking while you look that up.
Okay.
So, men are sheep, and there's no worse example of this than in the culture of football, which is very much become a religion. When we were growing up, if you went to school and one of the big boys said, "What football team do you support?" you had to have an answer. You couldn't just say, "Oh, I don't like football," because then you were, a puff, a gay. And so this sort of sheep mentality, this fear by so many men to be different, is also reflected in the footballers that play the sport. How many footballers have come out as gay whilst playing football? And I think there's one in America. But yet there are definitely gay footballers, but they can't come out because of the, it's just a horrible sport. I hate it. It's a great sport, but I hate it. Right, what did he say?
So he sang a song by a band called Thompson.
Oh, no. That already sounds racist, doesn't it?
And the band is apparently famous for having slightly fascist tendencies. And the name of the band, Thompson, they're named after a machine gun that was used in the war. To be honest, I haven't really looked into this. You wanted a lighter. I thought because you mentioned a footballer. I thought I could bring in a goalkeeper thing.
Oh, you just pulled that out of the bag, out of your knowledge of stories. That's amazing.
I was just reading about it today. Yeah,
that's really good. I think one of the big problems, Germany's failings at the World Cup, where they went out in the group stage, was that they picked him instead of Ter Stegen. Is that his name? The Barcelona goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But Manuel Neuer had been injured for most of the season, but bloody Joachim Löw picked him anyway. And remember that there was also there was a lot of racial tension within the German national team. It was at that point that Özil retired and said, "When we win, I'm German. When we lose, I'm Turkish." Probably because of people like Neuer. I hate him. I hate him, Neuer.
All right.
If you're listening, come on. I'm here. I'm in Berlin. Come and pay a visit. Crazy Bastard Sauce Restaurant. I'll spray your fingers.
All right.
All right, you racist.
Well, a lot of people have been comparing it to the Özil case because Özil famously is friends with President Erdogan, who's also a bit of a authoritarian dictator type president.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Jesus, they're all evil.
Anyway, so someone else who's
there are some good footballers, by the way. Just want to say,
yeah,
Juan Mata, okay. Mario Balotelli, very charitable people, do wonderful things. Pablo Zabaleta, come on Zaba, he was a wonderful footballer.
Talking about evil, the Nazis were evil, and
the Nazis were evil. Yes, they were.
And it was kind of obviously a dark period in German history, the Nazi time. But what has happened since then? It's taken me ages to get this link right. A lot of phrases and words from the Nazi time are still occasionally used today.
Yes, yes.
Even though at first glance they don't seem to be particularly...
It's because they spoke German, Ben.
Yeah, I know.
So they would have said loads of stuff in German that people are still saying today. It's really difficult.
Well, one of those words is Stammbaumrecherche.
Tree root study. The study of the tree.
Stammbaum is a family tree.
Yes, of course. God.
Stammbaumrecherche or Stammbaumforschung were Nazi-era terms which had a very dark connotation because it meant they wanted to find out how Aryan you were. This week, in the last 2 days, the Stuttgart, we're going back to the police, by the way, Stuttgart police president Franz Lutz was accused of using the term Stammbaumrecherche when he said that people... You remember there were riots in Stuttgart a couple of weeks ago, in end of June? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't. I don't want to lie.
Okay. They were doing some drug checks. The police were allegedly doing some random drug checks in town, and obviously, as is their wont, they were generally checking people of colour. And basically violence broke out in this one horrible night. A lot of people, they were looting, everything, fighting. And the police are investigating it right now. They have arrested 14 people altogether, and they have started researching, finding out because they have German citizenship, they're investigating the migration background, as the Germans say, the immigrant background of these suspects. This was a bit of a scandal, and as soon as this came out, that he may or may, it's not actually clear whether he used this term Stammbaumrecherche, but if he did, that would be a sacking offence in Germany. You just can't use that term if you're in a position of authority. And it created a Twitter storm. A lot of politicians got very angry and condemned Lutz for using this term. The thing is, it's complicated because if they're minors, if they're under 18, the suspects, then one of the things you would do as a policeman or as the authorities generally, they have a slightly different way of dealing with those crimes, and they try and educate the young people, right? So, and as part of that, they have to do some research into the families and talk the backgrounds of the people. And as one of the things that they might try and find out is whether or not they are of immigrant background, how they were brought up. Anyway,
yeah.
But it wasn't even clear if all these suspects were minors. And according to one police spokeswoman, she said that the prevention initiatives had to be different for Turkish migrants from social hotspots, Brennpunkte, as the Germans say, than for Germans who live in an affluent neighbourhood.
Oh, God. It's just wrong, isn't it? It's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about... I studied German. It was a long time ago, so it's all a bit fuzzy. But I do remember studying the language of the Nazis and how obviously a lot of these terms we don't use. One word that the Nazis used a lot was fanaticism. Did you know that?
No.
What is it in German? Fanatismus? No.
Something like that.
And you won't find that word in German language now. There you go.
No.
You'll have Sportfan, Fußballfan, but the word fanatic, the Nazis used it a lot, which was interesting because fanaticism suggests a sort of blind devotion to something, but the Nazis used it a little bit differently. And there was...
What did the Nazis use it?
Well, they used it in the sense of not of a sort of blind devotion, but a sort of just a devotion, loyalty to the cause, to the Nazi thing.
Yeah.
Now, but you still have the word Führer, Staatsführer, Führerschein. So clearly there are some words that slipped through.
So you're thinking driver's licenses?
Yeah, it should be called Fahrerschein. There you go. I just solved it. Boom.
On that bombshell, Sebastian, you've solved racism in Germany. Yeah, they just need to...
Is that it? That would be a great way to end the show.
Yeah, we've finished. We've done half an hour. That's it. We don't need to do any more.
We don't need to. Don't say it like that.
Well, you can.
How do you think it went? Be honest.
I think it was. I think it would have been good if I had a more variation in some of my stories.
Yeah, but it's hard, isn't it? Everything's about racism or Nazi past.
Well, we could have talked about the only thing. I'm kind of slightly limited by what I've actually been writing about. We could have talked about meat.
Now you're talking my language.
Have you heard of the company Tönnies? Have you heard of this scandal around the company Tönnies?
No.
Ah, good. Then everything I say will be new to you. So Tönnies was a company in Western Germany where they employed a lot of Romanians to do meat packing and meat processing.
Okay.
And they've all, like, a lot of them got coronavirus.
Oh, God. And they don't tell me they put it in the meat. No.
No, they just
on
got
that
it.
bombshell. Don't eat meat. It's riddled with corona. Stay away from meat, kids. Don't you touch that beefy. Get your fingers off it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a problem with the Tönnies because it's become like meatpacking factories generally have become coronavirus hotspots, vectors. Partly because people have to work very close together and live very close together because it's often dirty, unpleasant work that migrant workers are used for. So they come over especially. Yeah, they come over especially from Romania for a few months and they all live in the same house.
I feel a bit bad because I do an excellent chicken burger in my restaurant, but the meat I buy is deboned, skinless chicken thigh. And it's about €5.50, €6 per kilo. And just when you think about, like, someone has to debone this piece of meat and remove the skin, and then it's packed in these boxes, and you think, like, well, it's quite cheap, really, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
who's there's not some well-trained German butcher doing this, is there?
No.
On a salary of 20,000 a year.
No.
Exactly. So
it's people from Romania and other parts of Central and Eastern Europe who come over for a few months and they all have to live in the same apartment blocks as well. They live in homes. They both work and live very close together, and so they become very vulnerable to things like pandemics. So you probably shouldn't eat meat anyway. Anyway, it's bad for you. It's bad for you in lots of ways, meat.
You heard it here. See ya.
That's great. I think we packed in quite a lot there.
We packed in a lot of meaty topics.
In the sandwich of beer cans.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for filling in for Megan.
Yeah, Megan, come back soon. You can, as you may have noticed, we're struggling a little bit here.
I think it was good.
I thought it was great, actually. When you listen to it back, it'll be better, won't it?
Well, I'll probably edit it a little bit.
Keep this bit in.
Okay.
Gold. See ya.
Bye.
Do 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 do.